It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael. I'll be your host this morning. I appreciate you joining with us. If you're catching us live on our website, glad to have you on board. If you are catching us on Patriot FB, outstanding. Glad to have you folks on Patriot FB. Some really great folks I've met and friends I've met on Patriot FB, and I encourage you to be a part of that. If you have a chance to join Patriot FB, you'll be doing yourself a big favor by participating with that organization. Simply go to Patriot FB, that's F like Facebook, patriotfb.com, and join in there, sign in there. You'll meet a lot of other folks that are similar in attitude and spirit to you, and you'll have an opportunity to listen to Patriot Radio, where you can catch my program, but you can also catch Resurrect the Republic with Tom Lacavara, excuse me. I always say that. It's Tom Lacavara. And he runs from 10 to 11 in the morning, and then you can catch J.J. McCartney's show from 2 to 4, and then Tuesday nights you can get Cowboy Logic with Donna Fiducia, and then at 9 o'clock till midnight, you can get the Midnight Patriot with Jeff. So I got to tell you, great program, great organization, and I strongly encourage you to participate. You know, I get email from listeners and folks who catch the show on YouTube or whatever, Google+, Facebook, whatever. And I get constant reminders about, people want me to do a show about this, that, or the next thing, and they send me videos and links and all kinds of information. The level of the information that's pouring at us now, and I know that in some ways when we look at things like, our fourth topic is going to be a cop in Tosin who literally went up to a guy who was videoing him on a cell phone and said, "You have no rights." And we're going to talk about that. But the other aspect of this, and I get that kind of thing is probably more prevalent today because people have cameras and video capability within their cell phones, which, you didn't have 10 years ago, right? You didn't have probably 5 years ago. But there are a lot of other things and pieces of evidence that are coming out everywhere that tell us just how much trouble we're in. And it never ceases to amaze me that people are still sitting here completely dumb and numb to the realities of where we are. There are some groups, and we're going to talk about this morning, a group of black pastors came out and said we should be impeaching Holder. And they want to know why we're not. And they've put a petition together with the goal of creating over 1 million signatures to get that resolved. But I got to ask you, where are all the white churches? Where are all the pastors of all the churches in the United States? Why are they not speaking out? I'll tell you why. Because they are cowering in a corner. They are stroking their precious 501c3 tax exemptions. They're whimpering at the concept and the thought that might be lost to them. And they might actually have to pay taxes if they speak the truth and expose what's really happening in our nation. If they educate their flock, their congregations. So they don't. They sit silently and allow the betrayal, theirs and government's, to continue. And they use as an excuse Romans 13 and all that. No, I don't care. It's a lie. It's a damning indictment on these churches. And it shows us the true value that these religionistas place upon your intelligence, your freedom, your destiny, and your right to choose. I'm mad about it, and you should be too. I'm tired of churches betraying their flocks. You should be going to your church leaders and saying, I want to know why we're not talking about this. I'm asking you right now, any of you, if you've got a church and you'd like me to come out and speak to them and speak to the congregation, I will do it. I may have to ask you to cover the expense for me to get there, but I will do it. I'm telling you right now, we are in big trouble here in this country. And the natural, the first, the initial community organization is the church. And that leads us into our first topic of this morning. You know what it is? Obama actually sent out a message to his supporters. I can't believe it. It's stunning to me. He went back and he said, talking to the people who were working at the OFA, which is the Organizing for Action, that was his PAC. The work you're doing is God's work. Ladies and gentlemen, that's blasphemy. I'm not an overtly religious guy. In fact, I very rarely take religion and bring it out as a topic in these shows because politics is divisive enough. But when you sit there and you tell your workers that the work they're doing is God's work, that tells me you have a messianic complex. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and a man with his seat of power, with his track record, is a dangerous thing. Our second topic this morning. The IRS has come out, and they're boldly threatening that if you don't sign up for Obamacare, that the tax must be paid with your tax return. Not that they can keep your tax or $100 out of your tax return. You're going to have to pay. The bully speaks. I got to tell you, I'm getting a little tired of hearing threats from the government that works for me. You ever notice that when you kick a bully square in the balls, he goes away? I've about had it. And I wish America would finally recognize where we are. Our last topic really ought to everyone should see this video. It's a bunch of cops in Towson, Maryland. And they're breaking up this thing outside of a pub or something like that. And this guy is videotaping them with a cell phone. This cop walks up to this guy. They start busting him because he's got a video, and they don't like it. And the law says you can, and they all know it. And they are, just harassing this guy. And the cop looks at him, he says, "You have no rights." Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Your police force and police forces across the nation, law enforcement as a general group, and I'm not talking about an individual officer. There's many constitutional sheriffs and peace officers out there. I'm talking about law enforcement officers. And you know who you are, and if you don't know who you are, you ought to go look in the mirror. We recognize that it's now become the us versus them mentality with you, and we know what and who you are. Just because someone speaks out doesn't give you the right to flash that badge around and wave that weapon around in that blue uniform and be an authoritarian tyrant. You have no special rights as a cop. Let's get into our first topic this morning. Obama sent out an email not an email, but in a discussion. He thanked this group that he used to ensure his reelection. He had created this organization called Organizing for Action. Let me tell you what this thing was. He betrayed his own party even doing this. He was sucking the oxygen and the money out of the Democratic Party, pumping all of this money not into the general Democratic coffers, but into his Organizing for Action campaign and political action committee. This guy is a traitor to his own party. He can't even support his own party. He would rather get people to donate the money not to the Democratic Party, but to him. And in this Organizing for Action group, he went to this event, and he went to them and he said, the work you're doing is God's work. I got to tell you, folks, when you look at a guy who's got a messianic complex, when you look at a guy who abuses the law, when you look at a guy who's a liar, a cheat, a fraud, a thief, an illegal immigrant, and has stolen the presidency of the United States of America and the Republic, that's dangerous talk. And he's a liar. He brought up Obamacare, too. He says, we now have 4 million Americans who have signed up for quality, affordable health insurance. 4 million have signed up because of you, he says. You see, the word is out, ladies and gentlemen. The man is a pathological liar. And I'm not saying that. Washington Post is saying that. Huffington Post is saying that. These are not conservative Fox News organizations. These are supporters of this administration. They sycophantically begged America to put them back into power and put them in power in the first place. They're the ones who are telling you he's a pathological liar, clinical pathological liar. He told these people that his foes, and the foes of the Obamacare Act, have spent hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to spread misinformation. That's a lie, too. The man cannot open his mouth without lying. He is the epitome of the living, breathing father of lies, politically speaking. And I want to know, where is America's churches? Where are you? Why are you silent in the face of evil, personified, living, breathing? It's all going to be all right. Let's turn to Deuteronomy. You're betraying your flock. You're a shepherd of lies. Obama went and said to these people, says, when people listen to politicians, people discount them. That's why misinformation can thrive. So basically what he's saying is that you should listen to what politicians say because that's true information. Don't believe your lion eyes. Don't believe your lion ears. Trust these pigs in $2,000 suits and $600 shoes who live and breathe off the blood they suck from you. He warned people, and he said to them, go out to a Republican, the kind who watches the wrong newscast, and educate them about the value of Obamacare. Folks, I don't think any other president, and I have no respect for any of them. I have respect for the office of president, but none of the occupants for the last, at least in my living memory. None of them. Not even Reagan. I'm tired of I'm tired of people putting him up on the pedestal as if he's some godlike creature, too. He may not have been a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, but every member of his cabinet was. He did the same thing they've all done. They've sold us down the river of slavery. But to sit there, I've not seen any president sit there and cast one news organization in any way, shape, or form under the bus like this. To make matters worse, Fox is no icon and pillar of truth and real truth, I should say. It's more, or I should say, they are more like controlled opposition. They give the alternative side of the liberal, venom a way to assuage their anger. But, it's like professional sports. Really, the goal of professional sports is not entertainment. It's a way to take the testosterone and bleed it off the men who should and would ordinarily be storming the castle. And Fox News is no different. Give them a way to vent. Give them bread and circuses. Let them think they're making a difference. America, you've been betrayed. We've been betrayed. And the war is on. You just don't know it yet. They've declared a war against you. You are their enemy. And it's time you stopped pretending it's not happening. It's time you stopped pretending it's not happening. What president has the unmitigated gall to stand before people and say, by supporting me, you're doing God's work? Where is God in Obamacare? Where has God been in any aspect of this administration? Where has God been in what he's doing? The misery, the fear, the terror he is causing in a nation he is sworn to preserve, defend, and uphold. There's nothing godlike in that. There is lies. There is a man of evil. And I don't care whether you want to think biblical sense evil or Machiavellian evil. He is evil. And I'm tired of trying to be PC and nice about it and try not to go there. You know what? Where are the ministers? Where are the pastors in this nation? Where are the priests? Where are the imams? Where are the rabbis? Leading their flock in the wrong direction because they've been threatened with the loss of their precious. The precious that they would do anything to preserve. Anything. Betray anyone. Money. Their little tax exemption. And they've rationalized and defended and given themselves the excuse of, well, Romans 13's. You're a liar. And you're defending this evil. You're defending it with your silence. Any man who would stand up and say, by following me, you're doing God's work in politics, that precious line you rely upon that separates politics and religion, He crossed it, and you won't hold him accountable. There's no need for you to be silent. You want me to come out to your church? I'll blow the lid. I'll take the roof off the building. Send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org. If you got a pastor who's lying and cheating and thieving the freedom and the liberty from your congregation, don't even tell him. I'll come in and blow the roof off the place. I'll get carried out of there at gunpoint. That's fine. But it's time your congregation, your sisters and your brothers knew. Aren't you tired of treason? Within, without, everywhere you look. It's beyond acceptable, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time that it stopped. We're going to take a break. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael. I am your host here. If you have an opportunity and you can support and patronize some of our sponsors, I would love for you to be able to visit with these folks. Make sure that you swing into Mini Mart Express 1 and 2 if you're in the West Plains area. They have a location on 14 and 63. They also have another location straight across from the street from the City Pool and People's Park on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have a drive-through in both locations. They have the cheapest fountain drinks that you can find. They have the guaranteed lowest prices on tobacco products. And in the northern location, they have wine and liquor and things like that as well. Lottery tickets at both facilities. Make sure you swing in and take advantage of their product service. They got a ton of stuff in there. Make sure that when you're in there, you say that you heard about them on americasvoicenow.org. See our friends over at Wits End Classic Barbershop while you're in town. Get yourself a great haircut for $10. And while you're there, after you've gotten your brand new fresh haircut, swing into the back and go see the folks over at Patriot Cigar and Tobacco Shop. They have tobacco products and hundreds of cigars and pipe tobaccos in stock. They also have all kinds of smoking accessories. 417-257-1776 is their phone number. The law offices of Jason Henry on the square in West Plains. State, federal, civil, criminal. 417-256-4100. Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. Great lunch specials. Tuesdays and Thursdays are reduced price lunches. Tuesday night, family night, kids eat free, under 12. Bruce is the manager. Swing over there and say, Bruce, thanks for supporting AVN. I appreciate you. Battery Station, batterystation.com. 417-257-7799. Today's the last day for Food Co-op. We'll be back in a few minutes. We're just going to take a quick break for some commercials. They're a necessary aspect to radio. That's why radio is still free. Ladies and gentlemen, where else on news media can you hear someone call a spade a spade? I'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to ABN. People that wisely has avoided Obamacare because you didn't want to go onto their website and give away all of your information and become a member of the massive database and an enemies list. The IRS has come right out and flat out, they're threatening you. Threatening. I got to tell you, I'm getting a little tired of hearing threats from my own government, the government that works for me. There's an article out there on Americans for Tax Reform. IRS warns Obamacare tax must be paid with your tax return. They released it in their healthcare tax tips. How nice sounding. These are just tax tips. One of them was that if you don't obtain qualifying health insurance, as defined by them, of course, you will face a, quote, shared responsibility payment. Shared responsibility payments. I got to tell you, I'm tired of liars, politicians who couch everything in nice-sounding words that mean the exact opposite of what they are. You know, I put up a story this morning. I don't want to get off on a complete tangent here, but I put up a story this morning about the Dodd-Frank Act. It is a complete and epic failure. Its principle was that the banks we would be eliminating the too big to fail principle, right? That ate us alive and is still eating us 5 years later, combined and created by both Bush and Obama and the previous Bush and Clinton and every other traitor that's come before for the last 115 years. Face it, America, we haven't had a president that has worked for this nation since 1900. Starting with Woodrow Wilson and his ilk, they've all been traitors. Traitors. The whole idea was to protect the economy from too big to fail. Hey, guess what? The results are in. There are 29% more big banks and 24% fewer small banks. That's what's called an oxymoron. Just another example of Congress accomplishing the exact opposite of what they call something, or the intention of a bill. This wasn't just another mistake. This was intentional. And everything that your government now is doing is intended to accomplish the destruction, the deprivation, the ruination of this nation. Make no mistake. Everything. And they're doing it in concert. Both parties are guilty. Everyone in this administration, every administrative agency, from the smallest to the biggest. Their goal is the utter destruction and the enslavement of you. Ladies and gentlemen, they're not playing games here. Why is it that everything is couched as something it's not? This is a shared responsibility payment for failing to follow a law passed in 2010 that obviates your Fourth Amendment right against the dissemination of all your private information to God only knows who, not to mention the unintended hackers, who probably are really not unintended after all. And the stripping of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, because when you fill out the stuff at the website, you are stating emphatically that, one, you recognize all of your information is available to anyone who they deem appropriate. Secondarily, all of the information submitted can be used for the purposes of auditing, investigation, and prosecution. So you're waiving your Fifth Amendment right. And you're doing so because you are forced at gunpoint and coercion by a law passed in 2010 that is obviating the rights that you have had before the existence of the Constitution, given to you by your Creator in nature, from the very, very first existence of sentient man on the planet. This isn't a shared responsibility payment. And let's be candid. This is the high cost of being poor. Those people who are in the upper echelons of income, they don't have to worry about this. What's $95 to them? But a family who makes $20, $25, $30,000, $100 is $100. It's the difference between whether you're paying the gas bill or you're driving to work. But Kathleen Sebelius and Barack Insane Obama, they've determined that you're going to do and pay your shared responsibility payment. Worse yet, they're not saying that we can withhold $100 out of your refund. They say, if you or any of your dependents do not maintain coverage and do not qualify for an exemption, you will need to make, quote, an individual shared responsibility payment with your return. You will need to make. So even if you are entitled to money, you're going to have to write them a check. The payment amount is either a percentage of your household income or a flat dollar amount, whichever is greater. See, the truth is, I cannot understand for the life of me why America is just not saying, you know what, we quit. We're done. If 10 million Americans got together and said, you know what, we're finished. We're workers, and we're quitting. We're stopping. No more payment of taxes. No more involvement. We're not paying our city taxes. We're not paying our county taxes. We're not paying property taxes. We're not paying federal taxes. We're not paying our mortgages. We're not paying our car payments. We're not paying our credit card payments. We quit! That, ladies and gentlemen, is a real revolt. Everything else is idle chatter. Just quit. You are at the point of a gun. It may be covered up so that you don't see the glaring muzzle and you don't smell the cordite exuding from the end of the muzzle as it reaches your nose. But it is a gun nonetheless. And you can wrap it in all the flags that you want. But when the controlled explosion produces a piece of lead that exits the muzzle at somewhere around 1,800 feet per second and in 3 inches punches through the face of the front of your skull, the truth is still the truth. This is nothing more, and all of this is nothing more than a political threat that comes with real-world consequences in money, loss of liberty, loss of freedom, loss of your right of free speech, loss of your right of your Second Amendment, loss of your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person and in your home and your papers and so forth, loss of your Fifth Amendment right, loss of your Sixth Amendment right to have a jury of your peers hear your case. How many cases actually never make it to a jury? The vast majority of them. First of all, those that are heard by administrative law judges, you never get a jury. And those that aren't heard by administrative law judges, your elbow is bent behind your back until you scream uncle under a plea agreement because they threaten such terrifying jail sentences for you that you capitulate. The Eighth Amendment, because it's all cruel and unusual punishment. The 10th Amendment, because your state has been robbed, willfully handed over by your state elected representatives, I might add, of its sovereignty. Ladies and gentlemen, what part of so cooked you can put the fork in because we're done don't you get? And you got this piece of garbage standing there before thousands and thousands and thousands of supporters saying, "You're doing God's work." Every minister, every priest, every nun, every pastor, every rabbi, every imam in the nation should be up in arms at a statement like that. I don't care what religion you believe in. I don't care if you're an atheist. That is blasphemy. This is a guy who has stood there and betrayed every principle of your religion. What religion do you have? What? Find me one religion out there that supports same-sex marriage. I don't really give a darn who you sleep with. That's none of my business. But if you believe in it, if you practice, if you believe that God looks down upon that, then why aren't you outraged that this man is standing there claiming to hold the scepter of Christ in his hand? It makes me sick. He's claiming to hold the scepter of Christ in his hand. God! While he turns around and says, "And if you don't play by my rules as handed to me by God, I will punish you at the point of my gun." Ladies and gentlemen, if that's the America that you choose to live in, good luck. You have become drunk. You have become inebriated. You have become anesthetized. You are allowing the thief within your home. You've handed him a key. You have laid out rose petals at the front door and the finest of your finery for him to walk upon. When will you stand? When will this nation recognize that this is a man of pure, unimaginable evil? And that the people who are doing his bidding are not doing God's work. They are the minions of evil. Where is it God's work to persecute people who have a different opinion and viewpoint than you? Find that for me, please. Old Testament, New Testament, Quran. I don't care. Find it. Anywhere. Find me somewhere in there where it says, because you disagree with me on the politics and ideology, I have the right to utilize something called the IRS to persecute you. Find me anywhere where it says in there, in your personal book, whatever that belief system may be, that you should take this man's word over his works. over the evidence right before you. If you believe in the Bible, then I'm going to tell you right now, you better start reading Revelation, because in there it says there will be many who will be false prophets and claim to be mine. But you're silent. You say nothing. You're making a big deal out of this. This is just an issue of the IRS and some penalty. No, it's not. That's your mistake. You pretend to say, I can excuse action after betrayal, after action after betrayal. To what end? The lies that he told to get everybody to agree to this, was that all part and parcel of God's work? Think God approved? Find me somewhere in your religious text where it says, it's okay to lie as long as the ends justify the means. Unless you believe in the religion of Machiavelli, you're not going to find it. The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, that it doesn't matter what religion you believe in, and it doesn't matter even if you're not religious. In fact, if you're not religious, if you're an atheist, then this is adding insult to injury. Because this guy is actually claiming to be the representative of someone you don't even believe in. And he's making you do things in that person's name. Is there anyone more dangerous to life than a fanatic who believes that he's doing his work in the name of God? I mean, between governments and organized religion, there aren't a whole lot of other deaths, ladies and gentlemen. There's a couple of isolated crackpots out there, but let's be candid. I mean, in the overall scheme of things, virtually all of the deaths at the hands of other human beings have come from politics or religion. And this guy merges the two. You can go out there and you can play the Romans 13 game with yourself if you're a Christian believer. You go right ahead and do that. You can continue to betray the tenets and the beliefs that you espouse. If you're a pastor or a church leader, a lay minister, if you are a priest, a rabbi, or an imam, and you are not standing against this, if you are not fighting this evil being put upon man, by men, in the name of God, then you have utterly failed. If you are trying some desperate method to keep this from your constituents, or you are a politician, make no mistake about it. And if you're keeping it from your constituents and your congregation and your flock or whatever little euphemism you like to use, and you are not making this a subject matter of virtually every sermon that you do, then you are guilty of an unpardonable sin. Because you know what? Men may not hold other men to a higher standard, but God will hold you to a higher standard. Because you stepped up and said, I heard his call. If you're not fighting this, if you're not fighting against evil personified by a guy who says you're doing God's work when you do my work, if you are sitting there and allowing that same person to direct an IRS who says you have to pay your tithe or else, because it's a shared responsibility payment. I have no respect for anyone that is silent in the face of danger when they have stepped up to be a leader. You don't have to be a religious organization to be incensed by this. You can be a member of a VFW hall, a civic organization, school board. It can be 5 friends who meet once in a while in the living room and discuss the world. You can be one of 6 guys who routinely go out and have lunch together at work. You're a leader, whether you like it or not. And if you are failing as a leader, whether you know it or not or like it or not, you don't have a choice. You're either leading your family. I don't care if you're leading 1 or 1,000,000. Leadership comes with an obligation to tell the truth. The question is, are you telling the truth? I would encourage you to send this to someone else. Your pastor, youth pastor, lay pastor, elder in the church, maybe a deacon, maybe the minister or the pastor or the imam or the rabbi himself. And then I would ask that you watch it with them, and at the end of this, begin the hard challenge of saying, why have you forsaken us as a leader? We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about black pastors who are saying, impeach Eric Holder. And here's my question. Where are all the white ones? We'll be right back.
It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
All right. Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We are in our third of 4 segments. And if you're not mad at me yet, just wait. Yes, I know, and guess what? I don't care. If I offend you, because I throw things out there like challenging the idea of people of faith who will betray those who are entrusted to them, then maybe you need to look at your own belief system and your own motivations. You know, there are only 2 things I can't stand in this world, and that's a liar and a thief. And a hypocrite is both. He's a liar because he portrays himself to be someone or someone he or she is not. And they're a thief because they steal your trust. And they steal your faith in them and perhaps in something greater. There's an article this morning out on CNS News. Black pastors call for impeach Eric Holder. Now, there's a coalition of black pastors that announced on Tuesday at the National Press Club they're launching this campaign to gather together 1 million signatures in a written petition. And they're calling for, in that petition, the impeachment of Eric Holder. They're stating that he is violating his oath by trying to, quote, coerce states to fall in line with the same-sex marriage agenda. Okay. For the record, I don't really care who you sleep with. I don't care what your sexual function or malfunctions are. Makes no difference. This conversation here, and if you're gay, forget the argument that you just hate gays. It ain't about gay. See, what this is about, what this whole segment is about, so before you hang up this or shut this video off, what this whole segment really is going to be about is liars. This whole segment is going to be about something more than your sexual preferences. Because trust me, they're really not all that important in the overall scheme of things. I'll tell you what is important. What's important is people who profess to be one thing and are betraying those who have placed their trust in them based on their promise of fidelity. And I don't mean fidelity in a marital sense. I mean fidelity in a trust sense. It's newsworthy that black pastors come out and call for impeaching Eric Holder. Why? Well, because Eric Holder is black. And there's nothing racist or partisan about the statement that we all know that 90% of the black vote goes to Barack Obama, and he appointed Eric Holder. And we know that if Eric Holder were to run for president, there's a vast majority of blacks that would vote for him. Not because he's the best president candidate, because he's black. Just like there's a certain segment of the population that will vote for Hillary. Not because Hillary's the right candidate, because she's good for America, because she's going to do the right thing for the nation, because she's female, because she has the right physical parts, or lack thereof. How disgraceful. Anyone who would make a voting decision based on someone's color, sexual orientation, sex, you don't have the right to vote because you have sullied and dirtied that privilege and that right. You have thrown your pearls before swine and squandered the treasure that's been given to you, the legacy that's been handed to you, the legacy that, quite frankly, millions of women fought for many, many years. The legacy that 1.3 million Americans have died for since the inception of this nation so that you could have. And the best that you can use it for is to determine who you're going to vote for based on color, whether or not they got physical genital parts, or the color of their skin or their hair, or their religious preference, or their sexual preference, or whether or not they applaud your sexual preference. How small-minded. How self-absorbed. How pathetic. I mean, the heck with the rest of us. Let's just worry about what's my personal preference. And I'm a single-issue voter on something which, quite frankly, in the overall scheme of things, has zero to do with anything. You tell me that when push comes to shove, that whether you're gay or you're black or you're white or you're orange or you're green or you're male or you're female is going to have any bearing on whether or not this country succeeds or fails fiscally, educationally, morally. And I frankly think that black ministers who have come forth and said, quote, President Obama and Attorney General Eric Holder have turned their backs on the values the American people hold dear, values particularly cherished in the black community, values like marriage, which should be strengthened and promoted rather than weakened and undermined. So let me put it to you this way. For the record, these people have more courage and more balls than those of you who vote on single issues. Now, I know for those of you who are black, these are a bunch of Uncle Toms. I get it, the whole thing, right? Because they disagree with you. You're going to slander them, and you're going to libel them as traitors to the cause. You know, let me ask you something. There's a lot of white people that do things I don't like. But I don't look at them and say they're traitors to the white cause. I just say they're traitors. They're traitors to the nation that protects black and white and red and orange. I get it. No, don't even throw that crap out there that we killed the American Indians off and all that. I get it. But I wasn't there. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. Neither did your parents. Neither did probably their parents before them. Frankly, back in the days of slavery, my parents weren't even in the country. And most likely yours weren't either. So take your white guilt and throw it in a garbage can somewhere, because it's just something that's a learned response, like a rat that licks the cheese that's put before him. And those of you in the black community, stop victimizing yourselves for what? stand up and do something about it. Stand with these people, whether you believe in their religious beliefs or not, and say, it doesn't matter about our color. It doesn't matter about our sexual orientation. It doesn't even matter whether or not I believe or don't believe in same-sex marriage or gay lifestyle. What matters is my country's been betrayed. And it doesn't matter whether I've been betrayed by a white guy or a black guy or a woman or a gay man or a gay woman. Betrayal's betrayal. And you stand for that. These people have stepped above and beyond because they're saying, I'm going to turn against my own. That is how blacks view each other. Let's not call it something that ain't. If you think I'm full of it, then go out there and look at that interview with that guy who called that Supreme Court justice an Uncle Tom. And when he got caught in an interview just a week ago, the guy stuck a mic in his face and said, do you still believe that? He said, yes, he's an Uncle Tom. See, the real problem here is that this guy who better to separate us and keep us divided by race than a guy who's half black and half white? Come on, folks. Do you not see the irony of that? When does he talk about his white half? He doesn't. But he uses his black half like a pry bar. He's appointed as the chief law enforcement officer in the nation, a man who stands against everything that men and women of courage and conviction and honor and integrity and belief stand for, irrespective of their color, irrespective of their sexual orientation, irrespective of anything else. Eric Holder is a traitor to the nation, and I don't care whether he's green with yellow polka dots and Martian antenna sticking out of his head. This guy is a traitor. Here's what they had to say about him. He has abandoned the oath he swore in taking office and his duty to defend the common good. Attorney General Eric Holder should be impeached by Congress. CAP, that's the name of their organization, C-A-A-P. CAP is calling on all men and women of goodwill to sign the following petition, urging Congress to take action against the Attorney General's lawlessness today. I applaud them for stepping above their own racial myopia. How do I say that they have racial myopia? Because they're a member of the Coalition of African American Pastors, not the Coalition of Pastors. But maybe, just maybe, they've seen that little sliver of light shining through that says, it doesn't matter what color I am. It only matters that I stand for what I believe. And I'm willing to stand against my own alleged compatriots to do that. Good Lord. What has our nation become? Where is the coalition of white pastors? Where is the Southern Baptist Convention? Where is the Northern Baptist Convention? The collection of Protestant pastors of America. I'll tell you where they are. They are lying down, hugging and holding dear and petting their little 501c3. Oh, my precious. My precious. I won't betray you, my precious. I will betray those who trust me, follow me, believe in what I say, but I won't betray you. I won't cross over that line. I'll tell you something. Separation of church and state meant nothing that you try to rationalize to yourself and your people. All it said is we should not have a theocracy. It doesn't mean you can't have religion and government cooperating and talking about it amongst themselves. It doesn't mean that you cannot speak about religion in your church. That's just your excuse for having no balls. You're a eunuch if you say, I can't speak about politics in my church. The founders, the people, in fact, go look at history. The shot heard round the world was fired upon whom? A bunch of men that came straight out of a church. They paraded on the church grounds every Sunday after services. They were led by a pastor. They went out to the field and were led by a pastor. They fired on the British after they were fired upon, led by their pastor. But if I break the laws, I'll lose my tax exemption. If that's your biggest concern, then we have nothing further to talk about. And all of this sage advice you've given to everyone within your congregation has all been a lie. Where are you white pastors? Where are you rabbis? Where are you imams? Instead of teaching jihad, you should be out there expressing that it's not about religion. It's about integrity and it's about honor. And it's about evil. And fighting against it. And it doesn't matter whether you get there with a robe. And it doesn't matter whether you get there in a suit. And it doesn't matter whether you get there in a prayer shawl. It only matters that you do it. Why is it newsworthy that black pastors stand up and say, this guy should be impeached? It's only newsworthy because everybody knows. But if you're black, you support Obama. At least 90%. Are you insulted by that if you're black? I don't know what to tell you. Talk to the other 9 of your brothers and sisters and say, why are you all doing this? Why are you supporting a guy who's clearly ruining us as a race? There's an article on CNS News this morning. You know what it says? In Mississippi, 72% of all the babies aborted are black. I don't even care if they misrepresented and skewed the headline to make it look like a racial thing. 72% of the babies that are aborted, if that's true, if that's even remotely accurate, and I don't care if they're off by 20%. blacks are not 72% of the population. They're not 50% of the population. They're not 52% of the population. It's genocide. And it's genocide irrespective of what color you are. Rare and legal? What part of rare is 72% of all babies aborted are black? You hear about Muslims aborting babies? I'm sure they do, some. But they have a birth rate of like 8 times the white and the black populations. This ain't a race thing. This ain't a religious thing. This is a thing called banding together, elbow to elbow, locked, intertwined, shoulder to shoulder, standing side by side, saying, we want to defend our nation against evil. And that evil is personified by those people at the top. Sebelius is white. Holder's black. The president's black. Everybody involved here. Jay Johnson, he's black. There's a good mix up there, folks. They're all traitors. Harry Reid is white. Pelosi is white. Boehner is white. They're all traitors. Their color doesn't matter. And yours doesn't either. They sold you down the river. Doesn't matter what church you believe in, what color your skin, who you sleep with. What matters is that our nation is falling to the forces of evil. The only ideology that should matter there is right versus wrong. And the rest of it is just an excuse to avoid the truth. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. I hope somebody stuck through this 20 minutes and got something out of this. I hope you're incensed or happy or pleased or thrilled or think this is funny. Show it to somebody else. And let them be the deciding factor for themselves. I can only tell you this. There's a day that is coming that is almost here when whatever it is that you think you believe in is not going to matter. And it's going to come down to right or wrong, and it is going to come down to good and evil. The real question is, where are you going to stand? There ain't no excuses. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the evidence of what I'm talking about right here is your local police with an us versus them mentality. We'll be right back. Watching a video this morning. And these cops in Tosin were out there doing this They were out there doing this, I don't know what you want to call it, police action outside of some pubs or something one night. And part of it, I think, that was the most offensive, and you're welcome to watch it. It's only 2.5 minutes. It's up on our Facebook page, YouTube page. It's up on our web address at americasvoicenow.org. It's up on Patriot FB. And this kid was filming these cops as they were arresting, and they had all these people in handcuffs. And this cop, was really off the chain with this kid. He was screaming at this kid, "You have no right." The kid was saying, "Oh, I have the right to film you," and he's right. There's a Supreme Court case that says it's acceptable for police to be videotaped in the performance of their public duty, right? And, these cops will say, that's not true, or I didn't know that. That's bunk. If you don't know what the current law is, then maybe you ought to check whether or not you should be a cop. You can pretend ignorance, but it doesn't mean you are ignorant of it. In fact, truthfully, America should demand that every law enforcement officer sign off on a little waiver slip that says, I, comma, blank, fill in the name, police officer Joe Jones, do hereby acknowledge that the Supreme Court states that I may be photographed and videoed during the performance of my duty. But the point here is that, these cops were off the chain with these kids. This cop was, and I'll play you his actual words himself when he goes off the mark here, because this guy is like nuts. He's screaming at these kids, and here he comes. Here's one of them. There's about 4 of them that act like this, but this one's,
I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to get out of my face. I have my rights. I'm allowed to do this.
Now, the cop walks up to this kid, and he walks about 15 paces to get to him, or 15 feet, to get to him. And the kid's holding a camera. He says, I'm allowed to have this. I'm allowed to have this. And the cop walks up to him and says, then get out of my face. Well, the cop walked to him, separated by, 10, 15, 20 feet. How is that being in the face of the cop? You see, here's the problem, folks. Their blood was up. You ever hear that phrase before? Well, when men are in battle and their blood is up, terrible things happen because people get carried away. It's what used to be known as raping and pillaging, because men's blood was up. We live in a society where everyone is expected to be nonviolent. We've been taught that all of our lives. Don't solve it with violence. Talk it out. Try to resolve it without confrontation. For those of you that are just coming to awareness, you got to realize that that is a propagandic lie you've been told all your life. How dare I make such a radical statement? Well, let's face it. Humanity is a violent group. Despite the oft-quoted Miss America, world peace is never going to happen. We're a violent group. We always have been, and we always will be. And you cannot sit there, and I don't care how much mind-bending and mind-altering manipulation you attempt. You cannot get violence out of people. And when you do, suppress the immediate response to a violent confrontation by giving one person the authority and power of a weapon over the other person who has been indoctrinated into the principle that you are to cower before authority. You have bullies. You have individuals that are drunk with their authority, their power, and their physical ability to subdue whomever they perceive to be their opponent. And when their blood is up, everyone is their opponent. It is us versus them. That's the mentality that law enforcement has. It's trained into them like violence and confrontation are being trained out of you. And what you have is this. You're being told, never be confrontational, always do as you're told. They're being told, if anyone questions your authority, crush them. Want proof? I'm going to let you hear it for yourself. This cop actually screams at this guy. I wish I had the transcript to this. I had it earlier and now it's gone. I had a computer. Great. Here comes another one.
I'm allowed to film. I have my rights. I'm allowed to film.
Then get the hell out of here.
Man,
Leave!
I haven't done anything wrong.
You diverted my attention from that. Leave!
I have not.
You diverted my attention. That's what he's done wrong. He diverted the cop's attention from an arrest by standing on the side, videoing with a phone the activity. The kid didn't say anything. He wasn't making catcalls out to them, screaming, "Stop!" How is he diverting his attention? I want to know.
Done nothing. Whoa, sir. Sir, come on. Whoa.
Now they're dragging him off.
Walk away.
I'm doing nothing.
Now they're telling him he's got to leave.
All right. I have done nothing wrong here.
He said leave.
I have done nothing wrong here.
Locked up for
All right. Well, okay. Have I done something wrong? All right. What am I doing? Look at me. I'm sorry.
Look at me. Do you see the police?
Okay, here comes this is the main perpetrator, this guy. And this guy's off the mark. It starts at the 1 minute mark. And this cat is only 2 minutes, the whole thing. This cat is so off the chain. Listen to the anger in his voice. You see, here's the real problem, folks. This isn't the fact that the kid was videotaping. This is the fact that the kid had the unmitigated gall to refuse by his belligerent act, which was his refusal to do as he was told. Not because that's the law, because this guy said so.
I'm sorry.
Look at me. Do you see the police presence here?
Yes.
Do you see us all? We're not fucking around. Do you understand?
Am I interfering?
Do not disrespect us.
I'm not.
And do not listen to us.
See, do not disrespect us and do not listen to us. Okay. First of all, how you are standing there monitoring or videotaping does not mean you're disrespecting anyone. Observing, I'm sure the kid's a punk. And maybe he acted like a punk. But the point is that This guy is, look at what he's really saying is, you're defying me. Do not do what we tell you to do. Where we are making a major mistake in the United States of America is, one, allowing this to continue. Number two, training these men with a mission that says, your word is law, irrespective of whether it's objective or subjective, and that at any given moment, you are the power. That is going to backfire on this nation. I'm here to tell you, and I guarantee you it will. You see, these police officers now believe that they are the power and the authority. And it's a dangerous game that our nation is playing, because what it's really saying is the rule of law does not exist. What matters now is that you're following my directions right this second. And that's subjective, which is contrary to the rule of law.
Now walk away and shut your fucking mouth.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go in afterwards and edit these pieces out, so just stick with me.
Going to jail. Do you understand?
So he says, do what I tell you to do or you're going to jail.
Shut your fucking mouth or you're going to jail. Do you understand?
I'm walking.
Walk.
All right, so here's where the kid makes a mistake. He sends, and he's stupid. He opens his mouth one more time. But you see, there's no crime in what he's doing. What we've got is a cop whose blood is up.
Have I committed a crime, sir? Whoa.
Here he comes again.
You want to go?
Now the cop storms back 15 feet.
No, I do not.
Do you want to go?
Man, dude, I have done nothing here.
Don't open your mouth.
I thought I have freedom of speech here.
You don't. You've just lost it.
Okay.
Walk away and keep your
sorry.
mouth shut.
Wow, man, you're pushing me for no reason here.
You good, man? Come on,
Did you hear that? You don't have any rights. This cop is belligerent, arrogant, and quite frankly,
You've just lost
out
it.
of control.
Okay. I thought I have freedom of speech here.
You don't. You've just lost it.
You see, you've just lost your freedom of speech because I said so. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is inexcusable because that's not how we work. See, no matter how angry you get at a situation, it doesn't mean that you get to invade the rights of someone else. Just because the guy in front of you is driving like an idiot, way below the speed limit and slowing down traffic, doesn't give you a right to go into a road rage, does it? And it doesn't give you a right to insist or demand that he do your bidding, your will. And just because you're wearing a badge doesn't give you suddenly that right. The truth is, these cops, whatever they were arresting these other people for in the street, quite frankly, they should have just continued what they were doing. But you see, now they've subdued the primary people that they're after, and they are pumped. And so they want to continue to brawl. And they're swollen with their own power because, quite frankly, they know now that they've got this badge and gun and uniform on that completely separate them from the law. The truth is, we've entered very, very, very dangerous ground here. And our nation is now under threat from those who have sworn to protect and serve. I get emails from cops who say, you're too hard on the cops. There's good cops out there, and I know there are. But you see, it's up to you, as one of the good ones, to police the bad ones. And this behavior was unacceptable no matter what. See, the truth is, I'm just going to give you this example. Let's take a church. And these people are strong advocates of the elimination of abortion and abortion clinics. And they go out there and they've got somebody who's acting dangerously towards abortion doctors. If you know who that person is and they're within your church organization, you have an obligation to stand up and say, that behavior and activity, which I know is happening, has got to be stopped. Morally, ethically, it's wrong. Legally, it's wrong. And if I know that it's occurring, I have an obligation to stop it and bring it to a halt. Even if that means that I have to tell someone else in authority that this person has been going out and beating a doctor up because he doesn't like the fact that he does abortions. If you are a member of a mosque, and there is a radical component within your group who states that killing innocents to make a political point is an acceptable solution, is that any different? Do you not have an obligation, do we not have an obligation to police ourselves? We do. I've heard police say to me, if these Muslims who say that Islam isn't a violent religion would do something about the violent aspect of their religious group, we wouldn't have these problems. Well, I'm going to turn this right around on you and say, if you're a police officer and you're not cleaning up your own house, then you've got no business talking about anybody else's. See, the truth is, if you're one of these and your behavior is like this, or one of your guys is behaving like this, then you can bet when they're not in front of you, their behavior is exactly like this and maybe considerably worse. Your job is to protect and defend. Not them. Us. From them. Even when they're heckled. Look, you don't see a politician jump off the stage when somebody heckles them and give them a black eye, do you? You think that person would get elected? You see, I would expect a pastor of a church who knows that he's got a member of his congregation that is going out there and blowing up abortion clinics to act the same way I would expect an imam who knows that one of his parishioners is going out plotting a terrorist act that's going to blow up a bomb in a restaurant full of innocent people who don't even know what the heck is happening or what he's thinking or why. And I would expect a cop who knows that there's another cop out there who acts like this, not once, that's one thing, but when they act like this routinely, then you have an obligation to cease that activity and that behavior. And if you fail in that, then you failed in your oath to us. You failed in your oath to your community. And you're a problem. You're not the solution to the problem. Now, granted, this cop didn't pull out a billy stick and beat this kid senseless. I guarantee you he wanted to. And when you watch the video, you'll know why. But there are a lot of incidences lately, and you're seeing them over and over. The rise of police violence against civilians has become, ladies and gentlemen, epidemic. Why does that matter? Because they've taken an oath to protect and serve, not beat and pummel. Are there good cops out there? You betcha. Here's the real question. If you're one of them, are you good enough to lean out the ranks of the monsters within your organization? You see, you have that same duty that you would demand and expect of anyone else, including the pastor, including the imam, including the father who knows his son is dangerous. You would say to him, you had an obligation to protect and defend the community because you knew your son was a predator. And I say the same thing to you. You have an obligation to defend and protect the community because you know your brother in blue is a predator. So until you do that, you can't find fault with me pointing it out. And that is a fact. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. If you've found any value whatsoever in any of these episodes today, please share them with friends via an email link. Sit down and watch it with one, and then have a discussion afterwards about it. See if you all don't get something out of it. Even if you think I'm wrong, use this to open up the lines of discussion. You may be surprised at what you find out. The true mark of a critical thinker is to look at all things, those they agree with and those they don't, and then formulate an opinion. Only when all of the information has been gathered, even when it challenges your own bias. I have them, you have them, we all do. Saying or pretending otherwise would be being less than honest. So the question is, if you find this of any value, will you share it with someone else? If not this one, maybe it was an earlier episode. Use it as a way to open up the conversation, the topic. Okay. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. You can find us on the web by going to americasvoicenow.org. You can find us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/America's Voice Now. I ask you to hit the like button. You can find us by going to youtube.com/America's Voice Now and catch all of our programs. You can also watch them directly on our website at americasvoicenow.org. You can email me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. And I'd also like very much for you to visit our friends over at Patriot FB. And there you can catch this program live in an audio format, shortly or soon a video format. And you'll be able to interact with a lot of other folks that have patriotic spirit, intent, and motive. So God bless you. Tomorrow was another day. I encourage you to please think about the things that you see and happening around you, and try to determine where you can actually make a difference. Have a great day. You've been listening to America's Voice Now.